The Radio Forest Podcast.
Hey, how you been, man? I talked to you a couple of months ago, and I know since then that grandbaby came.
Yeah, he's here. He's 3 months old. He's doing good. Yeah, thank you.
Your new album out today, Denizen Tenant. I know you've been working on a couple of the songs for a while, and surely COVID had to make things at least different, maybe not harder, but different for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I started working on pieces as far back as 2016. There are a couple of songs on the album that came from those pieces, but most of the work was done in 2020. I started before, like the pandemic hit. Most of it was done during that period of time. What it did was it just provided focus. It just because we were all locked up inside, out here in California. It was bizarre. It was bizarre everywhere, but with all of our freeways and traffic and everything, I mean, it was just a ghost town. It was really, really weird. So I just used the time to just put my nose to the grindstone and just get the thing done. So what would have taken maybe 6 months to, knocked it down to about 4. I just used the time to my advantage.
We're talking to Joseph Williams, lead singer of Toto, him and also Lukather. Solo albums. Joseph's is out today. And can I just say that the production on this is so clean where I can hear everything. Do you think that has to do with some of your work with films and TV shows where I can hear every single thing? It's so crisp.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I am a bit of a clarity buff, put it to you that way. I mean, I was a big Steely Dan fan and Donald Fagen's Nightfly record, and a lot of that stuff is just real clean and you can hear all the parts, and I am a big fan of that kind of production. I mean, that kind of accounts for it. Some of the middle career Beatles stuff also sort of has that feel. I love that tight, well orchestrated kind of thing.
And you covered a Beatles song, so were they a pretty big influence on you? I mean, it's the Beatles, so probably, but was it a little bit different than other bands?
Yeah, I would say that they probably are the primary influence. I mean, there are many, and this album for me is like a sort of a display of all my influences, really. I mean, you kind of really hear so many of them. There's, I was influenced by Yes, a lot of prog bands back when I was a kid, but, Beatles was probably the biggest one of them. And If I Fell, the song I did on the album, was, one of my favorite songs growing up. And one of the common themes throughout the album is just about vocals and vocal layering and harmonies and stuff. And If I Fell is just one of my favorite tunes as far as harmonies go, and just the way John and Paul sing together with their harmonies. And I thought might be cool to do it and put Luke on there singing the John part. So I thought it was a fun idea.
Yeah, you gave some guest vocals to his solo album, and Lukather is on yours as well. Now, you guys have been friends since your teenage years, and he was super close to Eddie Van Halen. By proxy, were you then aware or close or in the circle of Eddie Van Halen, or did you hear stories, or kind of what's the background with you and the connection to Eddie Van Halen then?
Well, I knew him. I didn't know him well. We would come across each other only if I was, sort of in the room when he would come and see Luke, that kind of thing. He was definitely a close friend of Luke's. We didn't necessarily run in the same circles. So, I met him, knew him very briefly, that kind of thing. But those guys were really, really tight. And Luke is still, he's still very, very sore from the loss, very, very much. It's a huge, huge loss for our business and for rock music in general.
You did the voice for Simba, some of the singing parts for The Lion King. You were on the Goonies soundtrack. Did a couple of TV shows, Felicity, Roswell, and of course your dad, famous for Star Wars, Jaws, Superman, E.T., Harry Potter. Does that, by default, sort of make you a movie buff, and then your mother was an actress? Do you become a movie fan, or is it just more of, yeah, this is a job, and I make music, and they like the music, so that's where I'm going? Or then do you I've met this actress, and my dad was at the premiere for Star Wars, and I got big into that. Did that cross over then? Were you like a big movie fan at all?
Yeah, I was, and I am. I mean, I know a lot of kids, my father's colleagues, producers, other composers, who are kind of numb to it all, like you're talking about, but I never was. I was always a humongous fan of all the movies that my dad was working on. I was, major Star Wars fan and huge fan of all the Indiana Jones movies, and I still am. I'm my dad's biggest fan, huge movie buff. My mother, she was a stage performer, and I always wanted to do what she did. I always wanted to get out there and perform live and and be goofy and all that kind of stuff. So I still am. I'm still very giddy about the whole entertainment business.
Now, with doing one of the voices for the Ewoks, do you have any memorabilia from Star Wars? Because I know you've been to Lucas Ranch or whatever it was called.
I don't have anything from there. That visit up there was really mostly about work. We were sort of just shuttled into sort of a big industrial type building in those days, and it was the old Lucasfilm building. So it was before he moved to the new facility back in the 90s, I think. So this was back in like 1981 or 1982, something like that. So there was nothing really there to grab, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the anniversary of your mom's passing is next week. How are you feeling going into next week? I know it's been a while, and also, man, you were young and that had to have been hard. Did your dad continue to work? Could you wrap your head around it at all?
Yeah, no, it was very tough. My parents were high school sweethearts. We really came up together, and she was a singer in his band, and they were pals, and so it was very tough. And for my dad, it was hard for me to. I don't remember his experience because me and my brother and sister were going through our own experience of the loss. But at that time, my father was just starting to sort of hit his stride with Spielberg, Jaws, all of that stuff was just starting to happen. And he was also having to deal with 3 teenage kids who had just lost their mom. And he had just lost his best friend. So it was a really, really just ridiculously tough time for him and for all of us. And he held it together. He held us all together and at the same time continued to keep this amazing career going. It was a very ridiculously tough time. There's just no other way to put it. And, it's been so long ago that, like on my albums, I always do some sort of dedication to her, some sort of musical poem or something. I have a song on the new album called Wilma Thingadoo. That's for her. Over the years, a lot of the sting of it has gone away, and it's just replaced by good memories, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so the song on the new album that's out today then about your mom, explain to me maybe just a little bit more, and I think you were kind of talking about it. How is the song today? Because you've got, I think, 10 solo albums? I mean, you've got a ton of stuff. So how does a music that you write for your mom in 2020 into 2021 different than in the 80s? Like, how has that changed for you through the years?
Well, it's changed because the earlier ones were more subtle, because I probably just wasn't more in touch with the feelings about the loss. Does that make sense?
It does, 100%.
So this song is just more fleshed out, for lack of a better way to put it. That's all it is. It's just, now at my age and with these many years that have gone by, more I've been able to process the loss more. And so the song, there's more clarity about it all. So if that makes any sense.
It does. I completely understand. Switching gears just a little bit. Have you heard at all? I think Lukather might have said something. Bobby Kimball, is he doing okay from Toto? Maybe some dementia? His health might. Have you heard anything?
Well, yeah. I mean, he actually, I talked to him about a couple of months ago, actually. Bobby's okay. I mean, he's got a little something maybe going on with a dementia type thing, but I don't know if he's been diagnosed or anything. You can kind of tell when you talk to him. He drifts a little bit, but based on my conversation, it wasn't anything like major. But it's funny with Bobby. He can still sing great. His main thing that he can't do is he can't hear. His hearing is really, really bad. So when he sings, it kind of knocks out his hearing, so he can't really hear the rest of the band for pitch or pocket or anything. But the funny thing is that his big, powerful voice is still there.
Yeah.
So it's just a shame how other parts of our bodies, start to fail. But he's a great cat, a great guy, and one of my biggest vocal heroes.
But what about new music from Toto?
Well, we'll see down the line. I mean, we just kind of got through with these projects. We did a live stream in November that we're doing a documentary on. So we've got some other projects that are going to happen first, and then hopefully a tour. And then we will start to think about possible new Toto project music. Also, David Paich is probably going to do some kind of a EP or LP or something like that I will help co-produce. So that will also come first.
Something else I was thinking about when I was listening to your new album, you've got such an impressive list of guest musicians, people you've worked with, people from Toto, other people from the past. When you go in with an idea for a song and then you get somebody else that has, the chops that they do, does a song change from what you first imagined and you just kind of let them do their own thing? Or do you try to rein everybody in? You're like, no, I wasn't thinking that. Just just play it like I wrote here? Or how does a song change when you bring in other accomplished musicians and they're more than just hired studio guys? You know them. You've toured with them. You've played with them.
Well, a good example is Mike Landau, who played guitars on most of the record. A few of the songs, that were finished in 2020 that were sort of in development over a period of years. And the reason that they were in development over that long of a period is because I was on the road a lot, and I would sort of just bring up a tune that I was working on and fart around with it for a while. But there were a couple of tunes that I sent out to Mike Landau, and he has his own studio, and he would mess around with them and help develop them.
All right, Joseph Williams from Toto, thanks for the call today. New solo album out today.